Welcome to Broad Politics. We have another clip today where we're going to check to see if it's actual what that person said. And this is Bridget Philipson on Sky News talking about the recent legal action against Epping Forest was like trying to not allow migrant hotels, and then the government won on appeal, something like that. It's just nuts, right? Okay, it's culture war shit. Anyway, question is, do you agree with lawyers that the rights of asylum seekers are more important than the rights of local people in Epping Forest? And she replied back, yes, of course we do. This already charged statement, and if she did say this, I think has flumped herself a little bit here, because yes, the government has more legal rights to do what they want to do than the local people do. They do it all the time when it comes to like building works and whatever else. They can buy you out of wherever you are to build infrastructure there and things like that. The rights of the asylum seekers, it's not an asylum seeker that is the right to be there. It is the Home Office trying to manage a backlog of an internal government process. The asylum seekers have nothing really to do with it. It could be an army base being installed there. It could be anything else being installed there. If this is what actually happened, then yeah, Labour has made a bit of a misfire here. They aren't explaining it as well as it could be. They're probably coming not very well prepared to this. I could debate bro politics my way out of this fucking easy days. I don't know why she has done this, but we're going to listen to the full clip and see if there's any context to be added. And by the way, if this statement, yes, of course we do, has a but at the end of it. I was always told that you can't finish sentences with but at the end. So if there is added context, then we'll point that out. This is obviously from a account, Voice of Reason, some AI bot rubbish culture wars like account. It has a tick, so that means it gets more engagement, it gets paid. That's kind of how these accounts work. It has a conflict of interest, and that it wants to make sure that it gets as many views as possible. That way it gets paid. I am just doing this because I hate seeing this shit online at the end of the day. So let's watch it.
Clear what you're actually for. You say one thing, but you do another.
I don't want to see large numbers of people accommodated in asylum hotels. I understand how frustrating it is, and I understand how the impact that can have on local communities. That's why we are committed to ending the use of asylum hotels by the end of the Parliament. But we've got to do...
I mean, where was that context in the statement? So they want to end the use of hotels. So why is everyone mad at Labour?
Do that in an orderly way. We can't end up with hundreds of people just out on the street because a hotel has closed. So yes, we'll do it.
True.
We'll do it carefully, we'll do it properly, and we will do it in an orderly way.
Is it
almost like good government? You can bet the Conservatives would do that if they had their feet to the fire. They'd just throw everyone out onto the streets. Probably. Remember what it did with the care homes? They just put the sick in that and the people with COVID back into the care home without any regard of anybody's safety. They would do the same. They would just shut down hotels and throw the asylum seekers out into the streets and let them fend for themselves.
Minister's view, as is said in the Home Office's submission to the judges on appeal, that the rights of asylum seekers trump the interests of local people who do not want those hotels to be open. It says so in the Home Office's submission. Do ministers agree that the rights of asylum seekers trump those of local people?
Did you notice how that was a little bit different there? Hold on. When does that happen?
Of asylum hotels by the Conservatives, that increased enormously at enormous cost.
Yeah, you keep
to the
going
taxpayer.
back to the Conservatives.
And
I want to ask
yes,
you...
Yes, but it won't be a quick fix. We will sort it.
Your lawyers. Am I at a different part?
What we believe is that the Home Secretary and the government have a responsibility to make sure that we are doing our job in processing cases, in accommodating those in the interim who've come to our country. The decision that we saw arising out of the Epping case would have had bigger consequences right across the country that would have led to
Yeah, it would
wider
have.
consequences in terms of disruption that would have caused. Look, it's far from ideal. Look, I
That's
don't want to be in the place of
That's what the
defending
judges
it.
said, but
It is
that's not an
far
answer
fr-
to the question I
it is
asked
far-
you.
it's
Do
a-
you agree with the Home Office's submission that the rights of asylum seekers are more significant, more material than the interests of local populations?
It is about a balance of rights. When people come to this country and claim asylum, we have a responsibility as a government to assess their cases and to process.
Is this one of those yes or no purgatory where, like, just answer yes or no? And it's like, bro, the UK's asylum system and the implications of it on the local populace and the managing of that is more convoluted than a yes or no. Like, yes or no should like the UK manufacture arms? Yeah, they should. But what if we send them to people that are bad? Well, then no. But so we should have no arms. And it's like, come on, is this what Sky News is doing these days? Right, hold on. I'm going to try going to the bit that's actually in the clip because clearly I am not at the right bit. So how many times did you ask this? 8:13, that's the bit we went to. 8:29, 9:05, 10:48. Okay, we're just coming up to that one. 12:03. Okay, so he asked this like 5 or 6. Okay, so I did ask this a few times, right? Let's go back to here, right?
And by the end of this Parliament. And I know people don't like us, even.
So I think she's repeated herself a few times here, the same answer, because he just doesn't like it. He wants to get her on a soundbite, effectively. And if she has fell into that trap, that is her fault.
Year in as a government saying, this is what we inherited. This is what we inherited, right? There was a widespread use of asylum hotels by the Conservatives that increased enormously at enormous cost
Yeah, you keep
to the
going
taxpayer.
back to the Conservatives.
And it
I
won't
wanted to
be,
ask
yes,
you,
but it won't be a quick
your
fix. We
lawyers,
will sort it.
your lawyers
but it
under
won't
your
be a quick
guidance
fix.
have said in terms that the rights of asylum seekers are more important than the rights of local people in Epping Forest.
So the government lawyers said the rights of asylum seekers are more important than the rights of the citizens in Epping Forest. Can I see the legal document on that?
We grant permission to appeal, both to Somani and to the Home Secretary, against the grant of the interim injunction. We allow the appeals and we set aside the injunction imposed on 19 August 2025.
Yep. So the one on 19th August 2025 was the injunction, right? That was the one that we just seen. Somebody. Okay, so that is this one. What is the argument? Okay. Anyway, let's keep diving into this.
Would you at least acknowledge that that is what they will hear? And it's up to you. Ministers can say, we agree with that, or we don't agree with it. You can't simply say, let's balance things. Do you agree with what your lawyers said, or don't you?
Yes, of course we do. But what I would add is that whilst...
So, again, yes, of course we do, but, right? In English, at least in my knowledge of English, you can't put a full stop, like, there. Yes, of course we do, but, right? You can't put a full stop before the but, which is what they've done on Twitter. So let's listen to our full argument.
Don't you?
Yes, of course we do. But what I would add is that whilst I recognise the quite obvious and legitimate concerns that people have about use of asylum hotels, had we not acted in the way that the Home Secretary did around that case, we would have ended up with lots of disruption in terms of what that would have meant around asylum hotels. We will close them, but we will close them in an orderly way, not just where we turf people out on the streets in significant numbers.
All right, let's turn to your own specific area of responsibility. Last year,
I don't know what's bad about that. Am I missing something? Do you agree with the lawyers? Yes, of course we do, but we won't close down hotels because you'd put them all on the street. This is kind of one of those ones where I'm not even sure what people are annoyed about here. It even says in it, Philipson committed to ending the use of asylum hotels, and they're angry. Did I actually hear that right? Anyone else hear that we are all now second-class citizens in our own country? You've always been a second-class citizen to the government. The government can do whatever they want. That's kind of what... Yeah, they're like the first class. Yeah, that's kind of how it's always worked. Foreign invaders have more right in the UK than British people do. They can't even work. They don't even have any right to work. John, you're talking out your art. Wait, hold on. English, crypto, no crypto. Okay, he's good at that then. John Marchant. Fucking hell. This election campaign clip reports if I ever saw one. What, clipping people out of context? Taxpayers are second-class citizens under Labour. We have a problem with this, man. We do. I want to reiterate, this post has 490,000 views. Now, Twitter inflates the views. I get that. 11,000 likes, 3,000 retweets, 7,700 comments. That's quite a bit of engagement, I would say. It's not a lot, but it's quite a bit. And these comments are all extremely worrying. Now, they could all be bots, but I mean, I don't really buy that argument. I think people actually do have these beliefs out there, some part of the British public at least. So when you have a minister that goes on a TV station and gets asked the same question 5 times so they can do this, it feels a little bit nasty. So what I'm going to do now is look at the Sky News short, because they put out a short about this, and I want to see if they even clipped it out of context, because then I would go after them as well. So this is the Sky News video. Alright, look, 290 upvotes, that's good. 29,000 views. So the original Sky News interview has 1% of the views that the Twitter post does, right? The comments in here, if I can zoom in. She said she doesn't want to see migrants moved into hotels not in the streets. What about our veteran and homeless living on the streets? Is she nuts? I see stuff like this all the time, and I don't think people understand how homelessness works. They don't. I'm sorry. I don't think this person understands anything to do with the homelessness crisis, if there even is one. I think she's forgotten that they're illegal. Well, yeah, you kind of have to be to get into the UK, but okay. The British people do not need for us to make them angry. Successive governments will make us all very angry. That's the royal we. Remember. Even if reform sweep mistakes and get 30% of the vote, that's still a minority of British people voting for them. Absolutely shocking. I don't think they are. She says she wants to end the use of hotels. I don't get why people are angry about this. I'm honestly so surprised. Labour are coming out saying that they want to end the use of asylum hotels, and people are angry. The difference is Labour will do nothing and Reform will do something. I've just seen one of those comments. That's hilarious. Right, anyway. Let's go back. Right, so this is the short.
Minister's view.
And given what is alleged to have happened in Epping, I appreciate this is an ongoing case, so I won't go too far in saying much about this. Given what is alleged to have happened, I can understand the concern that causes.
So even Sky News isn't clipping this, weirdly. What's the comments like on this? Never or ever will I vote for this vile group of fans ever again. The level of betrayal here is abhorrent. Is nobody listening to her? I think it was a politician didn't answer the question directly, but she did. Even if she did answer it directly and said yes, they would still be annoyed at that. And she did do that, and one of the clips that she haven't kept in. This weird, their short is not the same as the one that's on that Twitter clip. So that person had to go in, download the video, edit it up to make it look as if she said yes, and then it's anything else. No, it's the government's job to look after British people first, which kind of involves making sure that the asylum seekers are not on the ground, like with nowhere to go. You have thousands of refugees, asylum seekers coming to the UK. Should they all just be like wandering around with nowhere to go? Or no, we should just not let them in and just send them back to France and then blow them up if they try to come over again. That's just not a solution. I feel that I'm going to open this one up to comments. Am I going crazy here? I feel that she answered this question. Remember, that's like the full context of the clip. This is what it was cut down to before.
Of asylum hotels by the Conservatives that increased enormously at a...
Important than the rights of local people in Epping Forest. Would you at least acknowledge that that is what they will hear? And it's up to you. Ministers can say we agree with that or we don't agree with it.
I even think him saying that what they will hear is being charitable, because he's right. Like, the people on the ground will hear that the government chose asylum seekers over the British people, even though they didn't. They just had to do it because otherwise all asylum seeker hotels would be at risk, and that's not something that we can do as a country. I mean, you can disagree with them, but just chucking them all out onto the street is not a solution.
You can't simply say, let's balance things. Do you agree with
you can.
What your lawyers said, or don't you?
Yes, of course we do. But
Yes, of course we do, but it doesn't include that. It doesn't even include that in the quote. Alright. Summary on this, because this is a absolute nightmare. This is classic social media misinformation, first of all. It is clipped out of context and does not include her going into her butt of what it means that if they did just agree with the decision, what it would mean for the country. Alright, that we kind of need to accept that elephant in the room. This is the problem with populist parties, is that they just come in going, we'll get rid of the hotels. Alright, how are you going to do that? We'll just do it. Right. Is everyone okay with that? Nigel Farage just comes in and just knocks down all the hotels and they have nowhere to go now, and it's just like, where do they go now? Oh, we just won't have any. Alright, they're just coming illegally then and just not ever be processed. Is that what we want? I don't think this is convincing. So yeah, summary. She clipped out of context, not what she said whatsoever. All these people have been misinformed and taken for fools. The comment section on YouTube and in the short is frankly confusing. It's like they haven't watched the video, which is funny. It's almost like they've watched this Twitter clip, then went to the YouTube video and then commented on it, which is kind of crazy. I don't know if that's how that works, but it'd be good to see if YouTube had any like referrer traffic from it. It'd be pretty cool. But yeah, another account on Twitter to add to my block list, because clearly it's a bit fucking mental. But yeah, that's it for this one, guys. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one.